On this episode, a new website.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 101. We're approaching our 10th year anniversary of launching this podcast. And yes, it's been a little quiet since January, and we're back. But part of the reason is we're just launching a brand new website. We're launching it on October 29th, 2018, depending on when you're listening to this. And it is its own standalone website. The new address is www.naturistliving.show.com. No longer a subdomain of Bare Oaks. It's no longer a Blogger site. We were using Blogger, which is owned by Google, to host a site since we started in 2008. And we are no longer using we're no longer using Feedburner for the RSS feed. We're now using Joomla for the website, and we're using Joomla's built-in system for the RSS feed for the podcast. You have to understand that back in 2008, there was not a lot of podcasts, and there was not a lot of support for podcasts, so we had to play with the feed to make it work with iTunes, and Feedburner was something that does that. But for some reason, even though Google bought that for $100 million, they have largely ignored it since then, perhaps because a proper podcast feed is so ubiquitous now, or proper RSS feeds don't require third parties as much. We still use FeedBlitz, though, which also works with that, but mostly because of its email capabilities. So if you sign up, and if you've signed up the last few years through our website for the email list, you are getting it a notification from FeedBlitz. And so we're continuing with that. But the RSS feed has moved. Now, we're always using our own domain for the RSS feed. Sorry if it's getting technical, but just so you understand, the fact you're listening to this means it's working, because you obviously either went to the new website or you got the podcast showed up in your podcast app player, whatever, automatically, whether that's iTunes or Podbay or anything like that. So you have obviously successfully, you don't have to do anything, you're successfully listening to the latest episode 101. If you had gone to the old one, there is a little short, kind of sort of joking, half joking episode that I created that says, hey, you're in the wrong place. So since you're here, it should be fine. If you see any problems on the website, we've tested it, we've looked at it. One of the big job was I didn't want to lose anything. I wanted to work better, and that was one of the problems with the old system. It was harder for people to play. It was harder for people to subscribe. Google seemed to penalize us, even though we were using all their tools. We weren't showing up as well in terms of searches. And so hopefully this, which is modern and works better, will work a lot better for search engine optimization. But in the importing of everything, we had to fix a lot of things. We had to make sure all the old links work. So going from naturistliving.bareoaks.ca/whatever to naturistliving.show.com/whatever should be the same. So all the episode links should still work because there's a redirect happening. As well, we fixed a lot of the problems with some missing images and sound files that weren't there. So it took quite a while. And it seems to all be working now, and it's been tested by several people, but probably something's been missed. So if you find any errors, I would appreciate you sending us an email. And the new email address is contact@naturistliving.show.com. The old email address of naturistliving@bareoaks.ca, of course, still works as well. And you can still call us at the show's phone numbers. Those are all the same because that's an extension of the Bare Oaks phone system. So, welcome. 10 years, nearly 10 years since we launched, and podcast has changed a lot, and it's really now really big. When I first started this, it was a bit of an experiment. I think I've told this story before in previous episodes, but I've always been a fan of technology, and the idea of doing a radio show myself was kind of cool and fun. Plus, it allowed me to take some of the things I'd been doing in some of the better interviews and now include them in a medium that would be around for as long as they're available, which could be forever. So unlike a radio show which airs and then disappears, this is available. And I hear all the time how people are catching up, and they found the show, they found the podcast, and they're catching up and listening to all 100 episodes. Binge listening, as we've now started to call it as well. So, but we were one of the early ones. Podcasting first started really in 2003. It was the first podcast was called Radio Open Source. And in 2004 is the first time we can find a reference to the term podcasting, which is in The Guardian, which is credited for coining that. And in 2004 is also when Libsyn launches, Libsyn.com, which is the first podcast provider. We didn't use them, but they were well known. And 2005 is really key because that's when iTunes started supporting the idea of a podcast, and you could register them. Podcast really kind of talked a lot about it in 2005. And in 2006, Apple released GarageBand, which made it easy to make podcasts because it was built in to... They didn't release GarageBand. They released a version with a podcast player or maker, built into it. And so by 2008, I started the Naturist Living Show, and I was going to be excited if we had a few hundred listeners. That would be kind of exciting all over the world. And now, as I've said before, we have tens of thousands, like over 50,000 usually per episode, although I haven't looked at those stats recently and we've been kind of quiet. So as things ramp up again, it'll be interesting to see what the numbers are now that podcasting is big. How big? There are now over 550,000 active podcasts on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. And that's 18.5 million episodes. I don't know what the number was in 2008 when we started, but it was obviously a lot less. And what's interesting is, of course, there's been the Naturist Living Show for most of the time that podcasts have been in existence, because we started just 5 years into it. And so now in 2018, we are 15 years into it. So the majority, 2/3 of the time, there has been the Naturist Living Show around. And so we're one of the first ones to be out there. What's interesting as podcast listeners is who you are. And, by now 44% of the U.S. population have listened to a podcast. Sorry, I only have American stats. I couldn't find anything for the world. But I found a research study from the U.S. It tends to be a younger audience, so you are probably on the younger end. Certainly the millennials are heavy consumers of podcasts. What's also interesting is that you are intelligent. Of course you're intelligent, you're listening to the show. But your podcast listeners are 45% more likely to have a college degree. And 68% more likely to be postgraduates at college or university level. And if you're not, well, obviously podcasting attracts people who want to learn and who want information, who are intelligent. And so you're obviously, even if you didn't get those degrees or you're not getting those degrees, you're intelligent enough to be interested, and you've chose to pursue a different path with your education. That doesn't make you less intelligent. It just means you don't have the degree. And of course, because you're a naturist or you're interested in naturism, well, you're even more intelligent. That goes without saying, doesn't it? So I'm really glad that this podcast continues. There's been a few people who've started podcasts, none as long, but none quite as active consistently. I know that I've been off for a while and I've been doing it in spurts instead of consistently, and that's because the summer has become such a busy time for me. But I record during the summer, and that's what you'll be listening in the next few podcasts that come out in the next little while. And it's just a matter of finding the time to lock myself in and do the recordings of the intros and do the editing that's required, although I get a lot of help, as I've said in the past, from Sean. What you can do to help? Well, if you want to record something, that would help me. In the past, we've had a few contributors that have recorded interviews and episodes, and that saves me a ton of time, and I think it makes it more interesting for the listeners too. In the beginning, if you listen to the first episodes, it wasn't supposed to be just me. I was really hoping to have more contributors. If you have any phone now, any smartphone, you can easily record. The quality is really good. You just use it like a microphone, basically. And if you find somebody interesting or something interesting is happening, you can do a report and just send it to me and we can make an episode out of it. And that would be fantastic. I'm particularly interested in those folks who are, further away from me, where I can't get to, where you can find interesting pioneers of the movement who are in your club, can tell a little bit of the history of where it was and where it's going, or people who are doing interesting things that are relevant to naturism, and naturism not just being nude, but body acceptance and respect for self and living a more natural life. So it would be interesting to have people record. So if you can do that, if you know people, that would be great. But if you can't do that, you can do your part to help if you're interested by promoting the show, by following us on Twitter or Facebook, by retweeting, by sharing, or on Google Plus as well, by retweeting or by sharing any of the episodes you like, by promoting and encouraging other people to subscribe. We now have we're connected with Blubrry. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's one of those words you see written all the time, but you don't hear people say very often. And that's going to give us improve stats and improve the distribution as well. And hopefully with this new change, I'll be able to get on other platforms like Spotify, for example, which so far, because of the limitation of the previous platform, I couldn't add the show to. So follow us, share us, promote us, tell others about it. And hopefully that's going to help spread the word about naturism as the show becomes more and more successful. Thank you for listening. If you have any comments, again, send me an email. I always enjoy getting them. The show's email address now is contact@naturistlivingshow.com. And the show's website, where the show notes are, is naturistlivingshow.com. Very easy. .ca will work as well. We are in Canada, as I've always said in the past. I chose to promote the .com because it's easier for people to remember. Not everybody knows the .ca, although it's a bit shorter. And if you want to call and leave a voice message, you can call toll free if you're in North America, 1-888-373-9124. Or from overseas, country code 1-905-473-6060. Or by Skype, you can just Skype Bear Oaks, and then that puts you in all three cases in our main phone system. And the show's extension is extension 333. Easy to remember, 333. I hope you enjoyed the show, and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bearoaks.ca.